When it comes to creating a data management system for someone, there's always two sort of headaches: stakeholder engagement and time to value. Well, we might have found a tool that could help you with a bit of both. All that on this week's episode of the Data Radio Show. Hello there. Welcome to this week's episode of the Data Radio Show, where we're going to learn a little bit about Iris. It's an automated system to help people build data warehousing, particularly around Data Vault. But it's a great tool for helping bring down that stakeholder disengagement that you can sometimes find when you're going out building something for them. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that the time to value equation is a little bit long for some people to be able to stay engaged, but this new tool is a really fantastic way of being able to get around that. So before you go and watch this particular episode, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Tell everybody about what's going on. Until then, I'll pass you over to Sam, who sat down and had a chat to Julian from Iris today, so you can learn a little bit more about what's going on.
Today I'm joined by Julian Redmond, who people may know from various times that we've interviewed him and had discussions around data engineering. Hi, Julian. How are you doing today?
Good, Sam. How are you?
I'm great. I'm ready to talk all things data modeling and pipeline engineering. So today we're going to be talking about something new that Ignition have been working on. It's a product called Iris. And to give listeners and viewers a little bit of background, can you talk us through some of the problems that you came across as a data engineer, or those data engineers that you were talking to, in terms of implementing Data Vault?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I lead the team at Ignition, and over many years we've been helping people with their data engineering tasks. So my team is a team of data engineers and data modelers, and we've come across what is now evolved into Iris over a number of iterations, from trying to just help accelerate the process for our customers. We found ourselves in really kind of, I guess, very similar programs of work where we were helping to actually build the technology platforms to build data vaults in, and then building out automation frameworks within whatever technology set the customer had selected. And it was a really hard project, long project, before you even got to kind of day one of starting to ingest and model data and deliver some sort of use case to customers. So while the goal of every Data Vault practitioner and most data engineers is to be very agile and respond to the business, at the speed that the business, expects answers, the kind of phase zero of building the technology platform got in the way of that, because it was far bigger than you could easily manage with with a quick agile sprint or two. So that got us thinking about what could we do to accelerate it, and how could we kind of speed up that process. So it's really about getting people to the starting line quickly, and then we realized that, well, obviously we're specialists in Data Vault. We provide Data Vault training and certification. We're partners with the Data Vault Alliance, and we provide that training for this region of the world. We realized that we could take some of our best practice approaches and actually start embedding those in, and so making things further down the line more reliable, easier to do. And so we've been on this journey for a number of years of actually going, well, how do we make things faster to get movement, and how do we make things easier? And this new iteration of Iris is really where we believe we've hit something special as far as making it easier to get going and to stay on track and to keep the speed of development going. So I think they're the kind of the high level reasons that we got here, but it was an iterative and slow process for us as well.
Yeah, I suppose kind of based on some of the conversations that we've had over the years, this time to value has been a real challenge in the data warehousing space, and I guess Data Vault as a methodology is an agile process, but even that has a number of limitations in terms of how quickly you can get to value. And just picking up on some of the conversations that we have had, you've talked about frustration in terms of stakeholder engagement and various issues, if you like, that there have been in terms of people being able to prove the value of the methodology or the approach. Can you talk us through any examples of where people have got frustrated, if you like, in terms of engaging with the data vault?
Yeah, I mean, the most common one that comes to mind, because stakeholders want they want a use case delivered. They want an answer to a particular business problem. So they're saying, I need visibility of X, Y, or Z, and so if all of the data to provide that answer is readily available in a warehouse or a data platform of some sort, then you can quite easily respond. But if it's not, then you've got a data engineering challenge on your hands. And if the data happens to reside across 1, 2, 3, 4 silos of data, you've now got a data integration problem as well. And this is where Data Vault really helps, is it allows you to do data integration at a use case size unit of work. And so the example that pops into my head is, we were working with an organization who wanted a data vault, but for for whatever reason that led them to this decision, they decided what they really wanted to do was ingest as much information out of the business into the data vault before they started delivering outcomes to the business as far as new reporting and analytics assets. And against our advice, that was the path that they took, which frustrated their business. And so obviously then you get to a point where the business is saying, we're paying a lot for this platform and we're not really seeing the regular delivery of new analytics and new answers. What's going on here? And so I have to help them pivot to being more agile and really focusing on what is the unit of work that supports the particular use case that the business wants today, not how do I solve my entire enterprise data engineering problem, because that's a very old way of kind of approaching this problem.
I guess another thing that I've probably picked up on from our conversations over the years is this idea of institutional knowledge. And when you get changes in leadership, that this can be a real challenge in terms of the particular approach or methodology that you're using. Is that something that Iris is ultimately going to help solve some of the challenges that there are in terms of stakeholder turnover as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think Data Vault solves that problem. Data Vault's great because it's very broad in its application and it gives you a clear set of steps to follow. And if you follow that process very well, then you don't paint yourself into a corner where you don't have a solution for a new problem that shows up. So you've modeled data into a data vault, then it's readily available to be used to solve a whole range of use cases. And that's why it seems to always evolve and embrace new technology. And so I think the fact that Data Vault separates business rules from the raw modeling of raw data from source systems can allow you to have the set of business rules that the current CEO wants to apply to the enterprise data. And if you have a change and the new CEO says, no, we're not looking at our business that way anywhere more, we're looking at it this way, you can apply a new set of business rules to the raw vault and generate a whole new set of ways of looking at that raw data. And you haven't lost any value because the raw data is still there in its raw form. The old rules still exist. So you can now do a compare of the old way you solved that problem and the new way. And that's really good if you're an organization that answers to a regulatory body and those regulatory rules change, and then the body says, what would have your answer been based on last year's risk calculation versus this year's risk calculation. Data Vault just allows you to do that out of the box. And so, yes, Iris certainly helps you embed those sorts of Data Vault processes into your business very easily. I think what we've done is actually help bring those best practices and make them simple to follow and simple to do, so that you don't really have to think about it. You don't have to plan ahead as much. You can work on the unit of work, and this is a really big thing for Iris. Iris focuses you on the unit of work you're doing now to do that to the Data Vault standards, so that it's always there for reuse when you might want to leverage that data again. And so it supports it in a roundabout way, I guess.
And I suppose that's a pretty good segue into, what would you say are the top 3 benefits or the impacts that you've seen in terms of customers actually starting to utilize Iris?
Yeah, so the new version of Iris that's been released is very much focused on simplifying the development process for a data engineer. And so we saw that that there was a lot of learning time involved with some other options. So if you're building a custom automation framework or some of the other offerings that are out in the market, then there's a lot of learning time. And we wanted to make it simple so that those that were doing the Data Vault tasks could focus on their modeling, because the data engineering aspects, the generating of the code and the organizing and deploying of the Vault to their target technology was an easy process, and it became a business as usual sort of process. That they're always leveraging the best practice templates within that structure. So I think bringing that complete set of best practice kind of approaches to a tool, and then making the user interface very intuitive, that's one of the big leaps that we've done. Then also that focus on unit of work, and really making sure that people focus down to doing things in an incremental and an agile way to build things over time, but to do it consistently every time and build the value of the Vault over time. That's really important. And we have a playbook that supports people through that. Iris will encourage everyone who uses it to go and get certified in Data Vault and really understand their modeling. But the playbook will then support you through the application of that learning through a technology. And then finally, we've found lots of organizations have started. They've made a selection about their target cloud data warehouse or what have you. They may have already some existing tools for code repositories or modeling tools or scheduling tools or whatever else, and they need to add Data Vault automation and Data Vault capability to an existing or a platform that's already being built, where certain tools have already been selected. And so we've made Iris basically focused to be deployed into that sort of environment where it can connect to a range of other tools. It can work with modeling tools of your choice. It can work with your scheduling tool of choice. It can work with your code repository of choice. It doesn't try and manage the whole end to end. It's delivering best practice Data Vault automation into an existing environment, and it will work with other data management platforms and other data management tooling, so that in a way, I guess it plays where it does things really well, and it allows you to connect and use best practice tools for other things as new technology comes about. That'll allow it to keep moving forward and integrating with the latest technology.
So, kind of put simply, it's flexibility, less effort, and greater consistency in terms of implementation, as well as faster delivery times.
Get you to ground zero, very, very quickly, and it doesn't require you to make big changes to your existing data management platform. It allows you to just leverage Data Vault automation and best practice, Data Vault processes, extremely quickly, and just get on with it and get going, because the business it doesn't have the patience to wait for data engineering activities anymore. And I don't think they ever really did, but they had no choice. Now there's a choice, so now you can deal with your data engineering problems in a time frame that the business would consider reasonable, and get on with starting to deliver some new analytics every week. Deliver some new insights to the business. When the CEO rings and says this is urgent, I need an answer for X, Y, and Z, that you can go and get that done, even if the data doesn't currently reside in your data platform. Then it's easy to bring in, it's easy to integrate, and provide those answers for them.
I think I saw somewhere that you're seeing something like a 2/3 increase in or decrease in time to insight.
Yeah, there's we've had one customer who was handwriting their manually developing their data vault, and it was more than 10 times increase on that, because obviously that you're limited to the speed of typing there. Over other automation tools, we've not been able to benchmark every one, but we've certainly seen a big increase in the tasks that Iris focuses on. So and I think that comes from the simplicity of the process. So we're trying to make it really intuitive. Like the Iris interface is, I guess, in a way, not that exciting. It works you through a 5-step process, and you generate all of your outputs, and it gives you all of your outputs to apply to your warehouse. So it's fairly repetitive, and it's fairly straightforward, and that simplicity hides a lot of complexity on what it's doing under the covers to actually make sure that it's processing your data and adhering to the data vault rules and guiding you through the data vault development process. So um, that obviously has a benefit in speeding your people up, because it isn't easy. It's not going to be their entire day using Iris. They're going to use Iris as they decide to ingest more information into the warehouse. Iris will make that simple to do and easy to follow, and correct every time.
Right. And so, just as an example, you're saying that there's a 5-step process. Have you done any work on how many steps it's kind of gone from and to, or was it always a 5-step process?
I mean, we've worked with some other tools who have hundreds of individual steps in their process before you get the final output. So if you're hand coding, that's in the thousands, I guess, because you're typing lines of code. So that's probably not a fair comparison, but it is a very different way. There isn't a tool out there that's doing Iris, doing data vault development like Iris is. So it's not that we can say that way is 15 steps and our way is 5 steps. It's about the simplicity of the process, I guess. But it's simpler to follow. It's more incremental. It's quite intuitive, and it does push some of the requirement back on the SMEs of the business to deliver their knowledge into the data vault model. So Iris requires that you actually have a good target data vault model. If you get that data vault model wrong, well, of course, Iris will generate the code to load your incorrect model. And so, there is a lot of requirement that's right, but Iris makes it easier to spend more time on your model and get and really think through your modeling and do that well, rather than just clicking the buttons on a data management tool, because you need to get through a longer process.
For those that might be Iris curious, what's on the roadmap? What's ahead?
Yeah, I mean, we have lots of things that we'd like to add to the product, as far as features and functions to continue to make it easier. There's some nice value adds that Iris already has. We have a thing called Source on Raw, which actually allows you to generate a view of your source system table structure and data off the raw vault. So it makes it very easy to reconcile your processes and did everything run properly and is everything loading the right way. So really good to automate your testing, but it can provide an output that you can very easily move reporting that runs off a source system to running off your Vault, because you can generate these source on raw views and just point those existing reports directly at that, and all of a sudden you've shifted a whole set of reporting to your warehouse. It also supports data scientists and analytics activities that want to see data in the raw form, the source system form. So that's an out of the box feature of Iris. So we've got a list of these sorts of features we want to deliver, but we're also adding support. Iris started as supporting Microsoft Synapse on the Azure platform, Snowflake on both AWS and Azure. The newest version now supports Databricks as well. We've obviously done things like making it super easy to deploy. It's all containerized and those sorts of things. So there's a roadmap of features for probably the next couple of years. But the things that matter to people is really, I guess, continually making all the aspects of the Data Vault process easier. So making business vault processes easier, and getting into the information mart layer, and making part of that easier to do as well. And all those steps that I guess as any data engineer imagining would go, well, that's great. I want everything to be automated. We're not quite there yet. We don't have everything automated, but it's on the roadmap.
I guess part of the reason for asking that question is, like, a fairly hot topic at the moment is how you work with LLMs, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And I guess I'm just curious as to how you are either leveraging or can help people leverage whatever it is that they're doing around large language models and the use of generative AI.
Yeah, on our website, there's a really good blog written by Steve Rose about how you can use or how a large language model in a RAG deployment, retrieval augmented generation kind of process using a large language model, how you can actually direct that to query the Vault for facts that it needs. So, I think everyone probably listening knows that large language models are generative. They generate answers, which is really great if you're trying to interpret something that maybe is in a manual and it's like, well, how do I fix this widget or whatever else? But if your question is something specific, like what was the temperature of this sensor at this time on this date, you can't generate that answer. You need to go and get that answer. And so, how do you construct the AI setup to query that answer? And what advantage does Data Vault bring to that? Data Vault is a graph-based model, and there is some intuitive kind of understanding of graph structures from the large language side. So that talks a lot about that. So there is definitely some advantage. I think there's some advantage when it comes to passing through the authentication of the user that's asking the question, so that your data platform will only deliver the facts that are being asked for if the user has the credentials to actually see those, so that no one can query a large language model for the CEO's super balance or whatever, or paycheck. So there's some governance around that as well. So that's value, I think, from a Data Vault perspective. And Iris obviously helps you get the Data Vault running well and running consistently and those sorts of things. But I think anyone using a Data Vault and starting to attach their AI applications to that is going to benefit from those sorts of things. From an Iris perspective, we output every bit of metadata that Iris uses or generates, so that it can be ingested by a governance tool, of whatever governance tool the customer decides to work with. We output it in a number of different formats so that it can be ingested by those platforms. And some of those are really getting some really nice AI additions too. So you can interrogate your metadata in different ways and make it easier, because governance is pretty hard. Lots of people find it pretty boring. And So obviously, if AI can help with classification and those sorts of things, so Iris will deliver really nice lineage, or source to target, end to end, whatever you want to say, lineage of all the processes that ran. But maybe an AI sitting over the top of that data could extract some additional understanding and help people understand where their data has come from, why the answer that's being given is being given, what maybe even just how data is being used by the organization as well. So understanding integrations that maybe aren't apparent and those sorts of things. So that's pretty cool as well. I think that's an area we're going to see lots of growth. So I think from an AI perspective, we're at the tip of the iceberg at this point. Probably there's a lot of value in the data platforms that Iris targets to deploy the data vault in as well. So Snowflake, Databricks, Synapse, they all are getting lots of AI capability as well. And so uh, leveraging the stuff that those platforms are getting with a data vault model that's been automated is becoming quite a powerful way to address data management for any organization.
Excellent.
That was a long answer. Sorry about that.
Well, a relevant answer. So just to sum up some of the core benefits of Iris, you've got simplicity, flexibility. How would you summarize that?
Yeah, I think it is it's best practice approach to Data Vault. It is completeness of that. It's an intuitive and simple process to follow that makes it easy to learn and easy to support. And it's been designed to work in with existing tools and existing architectures to make it easy to deploy. So it gets you to that starting line very quickly. And then it helps you to enable your teams very quickly and actually start getting the value out of data vaulting very quickly, and then keep that consistency over time. And I guess quite importantly as well, it's priced really well for people to take it on. We have no minimum number of users. It's a monthly subscription. It's very easy to adopt, to try, and to get Data Vault capability into your organization. And then we have a great team of people supporting it, and we're building a partner network to help support it around the globe. So there's people who know Data Vault very well, and there's a growing list of people who know Iris very well as well. So
excellent. And some of those partners are.
So we're working with Scale Free in Germany, who are obviously another Data Vault trainer in that part of the world, and Infovire in the US. So they're the first two that are coming on board to help us support some of the customers in those regions, and we're working very closely with Warescape, which might surprise some of the people listening, but we have a great relationship with Warescape. We actually leverage some of their technology in Iris, and there's a really good reason to use both tools together. And we'd love to chat to people about that. The Warescape platform does a lot around the warehouse management that Iris doesn't do. Iris provides the simplest way to do Data Vault, but maybe doesn't provide you a platform to manage your warehouse long term. And there's a few other reasons as well, which we'd love to chat to any organisation about. So we're doing a lot of work with them as well.
Sounds like we need to get someone from Warescape onto a chat.
Love to.
All right. I think that pretty much covers what we had to discuss today. If anyone's interested, where do they go?
Yeah, so obviously we have an Iris website, so we'll have the link to that. But it's on the Ignition website. You can link directly to that, so we'll put that up. And obviously we have some information in the community platform as well already, and that stuff will be growing. We'll be releasing an online training program actually for Iris in the next few days. So by the time you're seeing this, it'll probably be up, and that comes with a subscription. So all the training is there. And I guess we've done some public webinars recently as well, and we'll be doing more. So we're always happy to do a demo for someone, or help them trial Iris. But also we're doing some public demos so that people can just sort of kick the tires and see what we're talking about.
So, from a community perspective, people can reach out to you.
Absolutely, yeah. Clearly, I love talking about this stuff, so I'm happy to talk to everyone about it. We think we're doing something a little bit different and doing it in a unique way that makes it far easier to get started. And so, especially those that have been thinking about adding automation to an existing platform, or they're just starting their journey and they're not sure that they really want to invest in a big tool set just yet, I think Iris is perfect for both those use cases, and we'd be happy to help.
Super. Thanks for your time today, Julian.
Thanks, Sam. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks for joining us for this week's episode of the Data Radio Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, tell the world about what you thought of this week's episode. Also, don't forget you can sign up to our Data Pro newsletter. There's links for that in the bio. Or you could head over to our school platform and have a look around the classrooms there and get to meet other data professionals working in the field. Until next week, have a fantastic time and may the force be with you.